It's clear the Chinese room had its work cut out for it with Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. As the long-awaited sequel to a cult classic RPG, I see evidence of that immense pressure in every single pixel. It's woven through a thinly cobbled plot, so fragile even the slightest tug at a loose thread sends the whole thing unravelling. It's hidden beneath the dreary funeral pall hanging over the snowy streets in what's supposed to be a seedy and bustling Seattle. The empty silence occasionally interrupted by a line of recycled NPC dialogue as you run back and forth between the same 5 buildings for the first 20 hours of the 30 it takes to finish it. I feel it in the wet paper bag punch dash monotony of every combat encounter. Cringe at it whenever Fabian spouts another corny detectivism that sounds like a film student's first go at a noir script. These stress fractures run deep through Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, breaking it before it even has a chance to go anywhere. It reveals both how rushed this game must have been and how high my own expectations were too, in order to feel so bitterly let down. From the bottom of my cold black heart, I wanted to love Bloodlines 2. That this isn't a case of great ideas with poor implementation. Rather, it's a fundamentally flawed experience from conception to execution that has me wondering why it was ever made in the first place. Never mind why it was released in this state. The problems start at the beginning. After finishing the prologue, I exit the streets and suddenly my computer is buckling under the onslaught of particle physics. Thanks for that, Snow. Despite me meeting minimum specs. Swapping to a fancier gaming laptop, it doesn't even boot. Finally, switching to PS5, performance fares much better. But even then, it crashes during exploration at times and constantly frame dips when transitioning between locations. The game starts as Fire, an elder vampire recently awoken from a deep hibernation-like torpor sleep, takes a few confused steps into an abandoned warehouse. She punches an NPC and sends it splattering against a distant wall. But then a voice cuts through her consciousness. It's Fabian, the other half of our duo protagonist serving, and he has no idea how he ended up in your head either. So begins the curious bisection of Bloodlines 2. Most of the time, you play as Fire, grappling with a new world in downtown Seattle as you try to make nice with the local Camarilla Vampire Council. These sections largely involve pummeling enemies, most of the time half-blooded ghouls and renegade vampires of the Anarch faction, and making seemingly important decisions that actually make little to no difference to the story. The rest of your time is spent in dream flashbacks as Detective Fabian, chasing leads and investigating the rebar killer in 1920s and 2023 Seattle. He's the textbook stereotype of a gumshoe, cracking wise guy jokes and flirting with filing cabinets when he could probably just read their contents instead. The painful script is one of my most glaring problems with Bloodlines 2. Fabian's attempts at being a cheeky yet motivated detective come off phony, his jovial tone jarring against the old school noir edge of what he's actually saying, but he's not the only one who rubs me the wrong way instantly. The tone of the game is all over the place. Bloodlines 2 is set in 2024 Seattle, Washington, yet everyone speaks like they crawled out of Pulp Fiction. Every character is a cookie-cutter stereotype with zero substance. Be it the queer-coded henchman, chin-stroking villain, or love-struck nerd, and it's hard to care about any of them. I can only assume the Chinese room was targeting a modern LA noir with vampires feel, while also gunning for Bloodlines 1's camp theatrics. But by splitting that focus so literally, the two never find confluence. Ultimately, anything that would have made this the gritty vampire RPG of my dreams is cheapened or glossed over. If Bloodlines 2 is an RPG, I'm not sure the Chinese room knows it. The developer has never made an RPG before, but only so much can be excused as a rookie mistake. There's simply no role-playing to be had here at all. As memories, Fabian's dialogue choices carry zero weight in his selections. Instead, you pursue investigation leads by harnessing his telepathic abilities, adding some context to a modern-day storyline that's still peppered with plot holes. Meanwhile, Fire's chapters play more like a linear action game with slight variances, depending upon what Fire chooses to do with a total of 2 characters. Nothing feels weighty. It's impossible to roleplay in a narrative that's already set its course. You're told when you make a dialogue choice that upsets or pleases a given NPC, but without a relationship tab to keep track of them, these reactions are totally superfluous. As for romance, forget about forging a meaningful vampiric bond. Flirting with the right people enough times sometimes treats you to a blackout sex scene, complete with lewd slapping, moaning, and a few strings of ham-fisted, kinky dialogue. This is truly the most unsexy piece of vampire media I have ever encountered. At the end of the day though, it doesn't really matter who likes or dislikes Fire, as everything is plot armoured to funnel the story toward a single outcome. It's not just the lack of meaningful branching narratives. Bloodlines 2 also refuses to interact with many other RPG staples. The ability tree is a misnomer. The 4 combat and manipulation skills ascribed to your chosen vampire clan are progressively unlocked within the first few hours, and neither your stats nor skills can be upgraded, with others unlocked by visiting Fire's clan contacts. The logic here is that as an elder, more powerful vampire, Fire already has access to abilities outside their clan, but has forgotten them from spending so long in torpor. There's one NPC for each of the playable clans, capable of teaching Fire the 4 skills attributed to their respective clan once you accrue enough blood resonance points in exchange. Note that you still need skill points to purchase them from the ability tree after unlocking them. Completing missions, side quests, and engaging in combat earns experience, and eventually new skill points. Blood resonance points are gathered by drinking from certain citizens emitting the corresponding coloured aura. Sounds pretty Simsy, but at least it folds in some World of Darkness lore and makes an effort at stylising the unlocking system. Talking to an NPC with a red pulsating aura causes them to chase after you in a rage, while pink, sanguine NPCs will follow Fire blindly into dark alleyways, usually full of homeless people who may or may not react. You can also chase blue, melancholic NPCs after they run away from you screaming, though more than once I've seen them run straight through brick walls or try to lead me out of bounds. But unless you actually want to sample another clan's combat, you never need to purchase these new skills at all, let alone feed from the people of Seattle for blood resonance. I finished the game with 38 unused skill points, which feels like a huge waste of time and the mechanic itself. Considering my default clan skills synergized well enough, there's little need to experiment, as you can only equip 4 at a time anyway with no ability to hot swap loadouts. When it comes to the setting and style of the game, I'm let down on both accounts. The city of Seattle is a barren shell, built in the direction of the neon and grime of Cyberpunk 2077's Night City, but with none of the menace that makes it feel threatening, exciting, or compulsive to explore. Edgy ads peppered everywhere end up more cringe and outdated than seedy or exciting. Yes, there's even a Hoctor reference. You better believe dialogue also references Twilight and High School Musical too. It doesn't help that the single map, while larger in scale than any from the first Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, is emptier, with only a handful of interior locations to explore. Aside from some late game set pieces that actually had me intrigued, you're in for a grating 30 hours spent plodding through the snowy streets or leaping across ghoul-studded rooftops. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that there's no fast travel at all, and no cars to speak of, neither ones you can drive, nor any actually driving down the roads of a supposedly thriving major city. NPCs walk up and down the street and do little else. They're also either uncannily observant, able to see Fire supping from a victim around corners and through walls, weird considering the lack of population density, or noticeably oblivious when I chow down on some throats on the curbside. What counts for side quests in Bloodlines 2 are a simple, repetitive slew of kill or fetch quests for certain clan leaders, which are only good for grinding skill points. It all speaks to a world that's trying to look dark and brooding, but is no scarier than a disinterested kitten. Least terrifying of all is Fire's combat potential. Forget any hopes of a gun arsenal or picking up and wielding a melee weapon, because no matter which clan you pick, Fire mainly fights with their fists. You can telekinetically pick up dropped weapons and shoot or throw them at enemies, but these are so hard to spot in the middle of a horde encounter that I end up just spamming R2 and praying for an Uzi. Biting enemies is a good way to replenish health and ability charges mid-fray, and I do enjoy how the 2 trigger buttons mirror fangs as the bite command. And you'll also come across armor, power, blood, and health potions dotted around the city. Most of the time, I don't need to think about anything fancy when punching and dodging gets the same job done regardless. Combat had the chance to be really, really good. There's definitely a tier list when it comes to the best skills in Bloodlines 2. The Tremere blood daggers are great for stealth. The Toreador's Kiss turns hostile enemies friendly for a spell, and it's amusing to dominate enemies with the Ventru's possession skill to make them leap to their deaths. But there's just not much reason to actually mix and match with how limited the abilities are, especially when punching, dodging, and occasionally throwing things gets the job done 90% of the time. It's a sad fact that the vampire power fantasy plays second fiddle to the melee brawler playstyle you're boxed into. And if not for the lengthy bite and finisher animations, I'd probably have forgotten I was playing as a bloodsucker at all. Between the frustrating performance issues, clunky combat, shallow RPG tools, and a thoroughly meandering story, I find it hard to recommend Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 at all. This is a game that had so much promise, and maybe that's why it had to fall so spectacularly short of every expectation. It reaffirmed my opinion that the visual novels are the best video game iterations of the World of Darkness you can play right now if you're after an atmospheric gothic vampire tale. Or maybe Shark Mob's Blood Hunt would be your blood bag if you wanted something more vamp combat oriented. Either way, Bloodlines 2 is neither the best of its ilk, nor even a passably good interpretation of its source material, and I've come away with bile on my tongue instead of blood-red RPG goodness. We give Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 1.5 stars. But what about you? Will you be picking it up? Are you a fan of the original game? Let us know, and stick with GamesRadar for the latest reviews, news, and more.